morning, everybody. Welcome to Faith Family Focus. I'm Faith Suggs, Duke women's basketball graduate. This is my father, Shafer Suggs, former NFL player with the Cincinnati Bengals and the New York Jets for predominantly of his career. Dad, good morning. Happy Monday.
Good morning, Faith Suggs. I missed your Friday. I'm so happy that we're back together again.
We're always together.
Your flower, I like the flowers are still blooming.
Those are some new ones.
Oh, okay.
Some lilies and a couple roses in there.
Well, I thought you had your grandmother's touch for flowers, keeping them alive. I like that.
Secret hint to keeping your flowers alive is Sprite soda. If you pour some Sprite in it, it keeps them alive.
I like it.
I'm sure my grandmother did not believe that. Good morning. How are you? I'm so glad everyone is here. Trickling in. We see the numbers coming up and down. Comment, say hello. Good morning. We're happy to see you. We're happy for all of you that tuned in for our rerun on Friday. It was an exciting one. A lot of interesting and amazing guests. I'm sure a lot of shows don't have those guests. Dad, can you tell us about those guests? Good morning. Good morning.
It was great. Had Bobby Jackson, Johnny Lynn, Jesse Johnson, all former NFL teammates playing defensive backfield. It was a show that I thought was appropriate, as we are talking about the COVID with sports and transition with the sports. I thought it was just appropriate to bring them back. And I don't know if our fans know this, but we've had, this is 29 episodes, babe? 28 episodes. 28 episodes, right? So, and a lot of people have gotten behind on our shows, and just make them aware that they can watch our shows, reruns of our shows, rebroadcasts of our shows on our Facebook page, on our website, on our YouTube page. But once in a while, we'll bring back an episode that I just felt was appropriate. And it was just nice to kind of sit back, because I actually watched it with the fans, with our listeners, and it was just a really good show. But it's so nice to be back live again, Faith.
Right. Well, we welcome everyone back. We're excited. To those who are new, welcome. Feel free to shoot us a comment, a wave, or anything. Our goal is to use our stories and our faith to strengthen family for our viewers around us. So for those of you tuning in, we appreciate you. We also always appreciate our returning family. And we have some interesting news. But before we get into that, because I know you're all very intrigued on what the Suggs Mugs news is, today, we just want to make sure you guys know what we're talking about. We're going to dive into some cool things. What we're going to dive into is what it's like to transition from high school sports to college sports. That first year is always a biggie for a lot of kids, 18, 19-year-olds who are becoming new adults in the world, young adults. A lot of responsibility, and that transition can be crazy. So we're going to dive into all the interesting things that comes with it, the steps, the advice, the questions you may have, questions we have had. If you know anybody who has a kid who's going to be in collegiate sports, you have someone who dreams about having their kid in collegiate sports, or you know a kid who wants to become a collegiate athlete, share the link. Let them know we're going live today, because we really want to help others understand this process, because it's a really exciting one. But Dad, what is the fun news we got going on? No one can see.
The Suggs Mugs are here.
The Suggs Mugs are here. Close up of our good-looking co-host with his Suggs mug.
I know. And we're going to do something really special. For a limited time, we're going to give all of our guests who have appeared on our show a Suggs mugs. And then for this week, I said, while supplies last, any of our live guests that come on the show, make a comment. We're going to send them out as Suggs mugs. We just want to make sure that you know how to get one. Right, our banner is going across the bottom. You can order it, #Suggs Mugs. Well, where is it at? There it is. But we will send a mug out to you for free. As our level of appreciation for supporting our show. We're, like I said, on episode 20. What is it, Faye?
28.
28 episodes, and we're going to continue to go strong as long as we continue to have really good content, and we do. And we are actually getting some of our fans with suggestions on shows. So I'm really happy. But this is our level of appreciation. Our only ask of you is when you do get your mug, send They could take a picture of you drinking with your mug, and we want to put it on our website and share it with everyone. But like I said, we have limited quantity. I think we have about 75 of them, and we want to send them out to our loyal customers and just comment for this week, okay?
Right. And another thing is when you get them, and this was his idea, so I don't know how I forgot about it. When you guys get your Suggs mugs, to those who comment, so our little viewers and also our guests are going to have them, take a picture, a selfie, anything you have with your wonderful Suggs mug, send it over us and we'll shoot it out onto our Facebook platform, our website, and all the other things that people are interested in. We want you to be part of the family. We want to see how happy and beautiful you look with your Suggs mug. So, Dad, thank you for covering your Suggs mug. Oh, let's model your mug. There we go. But it's Monday, and I brought this back maybe 2 weeks ago. And with Motivational Monday, I love to find some cool videos or talks or speeches to inspire our viewers as well as the two of us. And this week, we have a wonderful TED Talk by Drew Dudley.
Nice.
Everybody's leadership. So here we go. We're about to dive into it right now. Sit tight. All right.
I want to just start by asking everyone in the audience here a question. How many of you are completely comfortable with calling yourselves a leader? See, I've asked that question all the way across the country, and everywhere I ask it, no matter where, there's always a huge portion of the audience that won't put up their hand. And I've come to realize that we have made leadership into something bigger than us. We made it into something beyond us. We made it about changing the world. And we've taken this title of leader and we treat it as if it's something that one day we're going to deserve. But to give it to ourselves right now means a level of arrogance or cockiness that we're not comfortable with. And I worry sometimes that we spend so much time celebrating amazing things that hardly anybody can do, that we've convinced ourselves that those are the only things we're celebrating. And we start to devalue the things that we can do every day. And we start to take moments where we truly are a leader and we don't let ourselves take credit for it and we don't let ourselves feel good about it. And I've been lucky enough for the last 10 years to work with some amazing people who have helped me redefine leadership in a way that I think has made me happier. And with my short time today, I just want to share with you the one story that is probably most responsible for that redefinition. I went to a school in a little school called Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. And on my last day there, a girl came up to me and she said, "I remember the first time that I met you." And then she told me a story that happened 4 years earlier. She said, on my day before I started university, I was in a hotel room with my mom and my dad. And I was so scared and so convinced that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't ready for university, that I just burst into tears. And my mom and my dad were amazing. They were like, "Look, we know you're scared, but let's just go tomorrow. Let's go to the first day. And if at any point you feel as if you can't do this, that's fine. Just tell us, we will take you home. We love you no matter what." And she says, so I went the next day and I was standing in line getting ready for registration. And I looked around and I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't ready. I knew I had to quit. And she says, I made that decision. And as soon as I made it, there was this incredible feeling of peace that came over me. And I turned to my mom and my dad to tell them that we needed to go home. And just at that moment, you came out of the Student Union building wearing the stupidest hat I have ever seen in my life. It was awesome. And you had a big sign promoting Shinerama, which is Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis, a charity I've worked with for years. And you had a bucket full of lollipops. And you were walking along and you were handing the lollipops out to people in line and talking about Shinerama. And all of a sudden, you got to me and you just stopped and you stared. It was creepy. This girl right here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then you looked at the guy next to me and you smiled and you reached in your bucket, you pulled out a lollipop and you held it out to him. And you said, you need to give a lollipop to the beautiful woman standing next to you. And she said, I have never seen anyone get more embarrassed faster in my life. He turned beet red and he wouldn't even look at me. He just kind of held the lollipop out like this. And I felt so bad for this dude that I took the lollipop. And as soon as I did, you got this incredibly severe look on your face and you looked at my mom and my dad and you said, look at that, look at that. First day away from home and already she's taking candy from a stranger. And she said, everybody lost it. 20 feet in every direction, everyone started to howl. And I know this is cheesy and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but in that moment when everyone was laughing, I knew that I shouldn't quit. I knew that I was where I was supposed to be and I knew that I was home. And I haven't spoken to you once in the 4 years since that day, but I heard that you were leaving. And I had to come up and tell you that you've been an incredibly important person in my life, and I'm gonna miss you. Good luck. And she walks away, and I'm flattened. And she gets about 6 feet away, she turns around and smiles and goes, you should probably know this too. I'm still dating that guy 4 years later. A year and a half after I moved to Toronto, I got an invitation to their wedding. Here's the kicker, I don't remember that. I have no recollection of that moment. And I've searched my memory banks because that is funny and I should remember doing it. And I don't remember it. And that was such an eye-opening, transformative moment for me to think that maybe the biggest impact I'd ever had on anyone's life, a moment that had a woman walk up to a stranger 4 years later and say, "You've been an incredibly important person in my life," was a moment that I didn't even remember. How many of you guys have a lollipop moment, a moment where someone said something or did something that you feel fundamentally made your life better? All right. How many of you have told that person they did it? See, why not? We celebrate birthdays where all you have to do is not die for 365 days. And yet we let people who have made our lives better walk around without knowing it. And every single one of you has been the catalyst for a lollipop moment. You have made someone's life better by something that you said or that you did. And if you think you haven't, think about all the hands that didn't go back up when I asked that question. You're just one of the people who hasn't been told. But it is so scary to think of ourselves as that powerful. It can be frightening to think that we can matter that much to other people. Because as long as we make leadership something bigger than us, as long as we keep leadership something beyond us, as long as we make it about changing the world, we give ourselves an excuse not to expect it every day from ourselves and from each other. Marianne Williamson said, "Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that frightens us." And my call to action today is that we need to get over that. We need to get over our fear of how extraordinarily powerful we can be in each other's lives. We need to get over it so we can move beyond it. And our little brothers and our little sisters, and one day our kids, or our kids right now, can watch us start to value the impact we can have on each other's lives more than money and power and titles and influence. We need to redefine leadership as being about lollipop moments. How many of them we create, how many of them we acknowledge, how many of them we pay forward, and how many of them we say thank you for. Because we've made leadership about changing the world, and there is no world. There's only 6 billion understandings of it. And if you change one person's understanding of it, one person's understanding of what they're capable of, one person's understanding of how much people care about them, one person's understanding of how powerful an agent for change they can be in this world, you've changed the whole thing. And if we can understand leadership like that, I think if we can redefine leadership like that, I think we can change everything. And it's a simple idea, but I don't think it's a small one. And I want to thank you all so much for letting me share it with you today.
That was a good one, right?
That was powerful.
Got people joining in.
Hi, Hazel. One of my favorite people of all time. Buford. Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Wow, way up there.
But one thing, and when I was watching, I wrote some notes down before we dive into our wonderful topic for today, was there's a couple things that I loved. It was peace can be deceiving. I mean, she was in line and she said, "You know what? I don't want to go to college. This isn't the moment for me. I'm going to turn around." And when she made that decision, she said a feeling of peace came over her. By the end of the day, that peace can be deceiving, right? She didn't really think about it. She just was like, "I feel at peace now. I'm happy. I don't have to force myself to be uncomfortable." But that very uncomfortable feeling may have been the part that helped her grow.
Right.
And the last thing that I thought about what he was saying was, by being our true selves and by living the way we want to, some people are natural born leaders, some aren't, okay? But by telling people, "You have impacted my life, you have made my life for the better," you're somehow creating a chain reaction of positivity. And it's just so beautiful. It doesn't have to be people you don't know. It doesn't have to be a stranger on the street. It doesn't have to be the person that takes your toll money on the highway. It can be the person you wake up next to. It can be your kids in the morning at breakfast before they go take their online classes, right? So it's just very important. I love that video, Dad. I'm glad I got to share it with everyone. I'm going to try to keep that going every Monday, but it was a special one.
It was. And let me comment really quick, because it reminds me of your grandmother. You remember her, but that was one of the things that she really inspired me to do. And one of the things that she represented, that she was not afraid to make one person at a time, one comment at a time, embrace people. And of course, this was back in the 60s, and she was really open to embracing all people. And it's something that I've carried that throughout my whole life. Because you talk about what leadership is. Leadership is exactly what he talked about. Is, especially in today's climate, is that we all should not be afraid to make ourselves vulnerable and reach out and cross that line and say, "Hey, you know," and because that's what we need.
Right.
So I really appreciate you sharing that. There's so many different things that came to my mind. I know that you're writing them down, but for me, it's hard because I have so much history inside of me, and I just that was powerful, Faith. Thank you for sharing that.
Right. So let's just continue on our own version of leadership on how we can use our own story to help others. Guys, today's an awesome topic. We're talking about how to transition from high school to college sports, which is a big thing that's very common, which is wonderful for a lot of families in America and also families around the world. So if you're watching, we're going to remind you, share, or let anyone know that who is in that experience or who wants to have a kid who plays college sports, who has a kid who dreams about playing at the next level. Tune in, have them show because we're going to dive into some fun stuff. But the first one we're going to dive into, which is the thing that we preach in our household, which drives our wonderful young third to our group, our trio, Shafer Suggs, crazy, Yale in August, is the ability to have a great and strong work ethic. And some of the things that we preach to him is the power of work ethic and what you present physically has a very large impact on what you receive when the season comes around and how you'll spend your 4 years playing at your university. And the first one you love to preach to us is one thing we learned and I learned in high school was to always be on time.
Right.
15 minutes is on time, 15 minutes early. 15 minutes early is on time. On time is late. And past that is super, super late. You might as well go home.
Right.
You also learn to be first to everything. Dad, explain to me why being first to everything is a great mindset to have for a lot of these kids who are preparing to play at the next level.
Well, it does a couple of things. It really shows the coaches your work ethic. For me, it was very important because it was something that was instilled in me to be first. Because again, getting back to who I was as a young African American athlete, I was taught early on that just being on time is not going to cut it. I needed to be there 30 minutes, right? I had to take away any kind of subjective reason for me not to participate. So being on time was just something that your grandmother kind of instilled on me. Not only being there on time, but she said, I could hear her saying this, don't let anybody beat you. Okay, be first. And I don't think I lost a sprint. That was so competitive because of your grandmother, and it's just something that I know you say that once a month I have this little thing that I come down. So Devin right now is getting ready to go to Yale, and I know, like you knew, what that's going to look like that first week, that second week, that third week, that fourth week. I also know he's going to have to learn for himself, but I would not be a loving dad if I didn't layer my many, many years of experience onto him. And I do it sometimes not the right way, but just getting him to understand the importance of putting yourself in a position where you're going to win. Okay, outworking the next person is so important, and that's something that I will never. They said here, I wrote this. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Right? You're gonna run into that. So you're gonna have talent, but you gotta work hard. Continue to have that passion, desire to be the best. Those are things that I think is part of our DNA. But I'm going to continue to preach that. And as our audience, your kids, they're sitting around. This is hard, Dave. For me, it's hard to relate, but it's just hard because I didn't have the distractions back in the 60s, watching TV, watching Netflix, all those different things that the kids have today.
Right. And so just by being on time is just another way of you to be first in everything, right?
Right.
It's also an opportunity for you to create great habits for the next level, right? We're not just talking be on time to practice, we're talking be on time to treatment, be on time to meals, be on time to group meetings. Because at the end of the day, when the ball stops bouncing or the field moves away, you have to have these qualities and habits that you've instilled inside you from these 4 years to help you be a great successful, whether it's in corporate law, whether you're a coach, whether you are who knows, right? These are great qualities to have. And the second thing is to be last from everything. Now, we're not saying be last to everything because we just told you to be first to everything. We're saying being last from everything. Dad, can you tell us a little bit about what that means for the athlete?
That means when everybody's leaving the field, you're still out there working on your game. You're running that extra sprint. You're doing that extra work. You're doing that extra free throw. Okay. You're soliciting help, right? So be the first one there, be the last one to leave. I can tell you what, coaches love that, and not only does it translate on the field, but it also translates as you are understanding how much importance it is and translate it into the professional world, because it's just a phenomenal work that represents success.
Right. Well, why do you think why is this important for coaches? Now, what does this do? What does this present to coaches? You said that, but let's dive a little more into that.
Well, I think, let me, if you don't mind, okay, I know that you want me to answer that question, but now that you're a coach, what do you see, after being a college athlete, why do you, based on your experience and based on what you have visibility to, right, why do you think it's important?
Well, it's important because, good morning, Aunt Burley. It's important because it shows that you are putting the extra effort in, and we're going to dive into the third point of that's under this little work ethic umbrella.
Right.
But when you stay longer than your peers, and your other peers are rushing off to go to the shower, go take their naps, go to wherever, when you have that time, you show that you're perfecting your craft in a way, and you're focused, and you understand where your what's the word I'm looking for? Your priorities lie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to see the kids are that determined. Now, when they show up early, they get their work in. They stay late to get their work in. It just shows that they want to participate and want to help in the team, the program, and also themselves. So it's inspiring as coaches because it makes you kind of go harder. But also, it's nice to see because this kid is leading by example.
Did you understand that when I was trying to convey that? When did it click for you that it was important to do that as a young athlete?
It was important. Well, I did that a lot in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But high school is also an easier time when there's less places to run off to. All your classes are during a time period. When you get to college, practice sometimes before class, sometimes after class, sometimes you have tutoring. So college is a lot more, and you got to learn to balance. So you're in the gym maybe not as long as normal, but maybe later at nights, right? So college is definitely more independent, and that's why we have 24 access to facilities when you get to the college level. But I think that it really clicked before I got to college because it's something that's preached, and we're preaching it today, is it's a form of leadership, since we started the show with leadership video, but it's also a form of commitment. And you just know that by doing this, not only are you helping yourself, but you're also showing everyone that you are really committed to the cause, you're committed to what you're doing, and you're committed to your career. And so that's something that's great. I mean, who doesn't want to impress everybody?
Right.
So I think that the one great thing that talk about is what is not doing those things, how does it impact your career? By like being on time, being last from practice. The time piece to college sports is so important because you only get a small window to show that you deserve your opportunity. Every day, small window, right? Are you delivering? Are you stepping to the plate? Are you showing that you are earning the scholarship that is given to you? Which is what you do when you get to the workforce. You're constantly showing why you're getting paid what you're getting paid. And I think that it's so important that you do these things, because if you don't, you can find yourself moving down the chain. You can find yourself not getting as much opportunity as you've seen. And also, it's not inspiring to others around you, right? You always want to be the person on the team, in the room, leading, who's always inspiring through action, through word. That's the type of person you want to be. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're put on this world, on this earth to do, is inspire others. And so by doing this, you're not only hurting yourself, but you're hurting others who have the opportunity to learn from you. But now, another thing is how to prepare to compete. We talk extra workouts, but that not only does it show that you're committed, how does the extra work impact how coaches see you, but also how does it impact your skills? Let's talk about the confidence piece, which is something you touched on earlier when we were in the Mental Health Awareness Month, but let's talk about confidence. What does extra work do for your confidence?
It's a tremendous and I'm not just the mental part of it, but just the physical part of. Let's talk about just dribbling the ball with your left hand, dribbling the ball with your right hand, right? Just the confidence to be able to know that. And what I tried to do is simulate what you were going to experience in a real game, right? And I think whether it's playing basketball or playing football, when you develop those skills, that layer of confidence, and especially when you apply it and it works, right? When it works, you only gain more confidence, and then mentally, man, you just layer it. And I remember you very early on being able to acquire those skills, and I watched you in a game do those things. And when we practice those things with girls who couldn't do those things, the fact that you were able to do those things, you wasn't a vocal leader, but the fact that you were able to do those things, they showed that you had a work ethic. The reason you were able to do those things is because you practiced those things. So you were a leader simply because you were able to practice those things and gain that confidence. And you saw the younger girls coming up and want to be like you.
Right, 100%. But also, the more time you put in, you start to see that you're able to do some things a lot easier. You're quicker, you're faster, you're more in shape. But also, you're mentally disciplined enough to you've done this already, right? You've done a lot of things. And I think that's what comes with college sports is you're a little uneasy at first. That first year is hard. You're the youngest in the crew again. You're also new to a new place, new people, a new program. And you don't know the new drills. You don't know the rules. So you don't know what's going on. So the one thing you can control is how hard you go and how well you play. And the best way to prepare for that is to put in the extra work and to spend the time with yourself on practicing and preparing, so that when you're in these positions and small windows of opportunity, you're so confident that you don't have to worry about anything else. You just have to worry about running in the right direction. That's all you have to worry about.
Right.
So I think that's special. Do you have any advice for parents who have these kids going into these experiences? How do you communicate effectively? And I know this is a good question for you. How do you communicate effectively on how important work ethic is at the next level?
Well, that's a loaded question. And not so much as I'm going to share your experience and my experience with you going to college. And I'm going through that with Devin, and it's hard because I can tell you what to expect. I can tell you how to prepare. I think both of you have phenomenal work ethics, but until you go through it as an athlete, as a freshman, you won't know. You'll figure out how to figure it out. And I watch you, your freshman year, your sophomore year, your junior year, and your senior year grow tremendously in not only your confidence, but your physical abilities. And even though the things that you were able to do in high school, you didn't do in college, but you did what they wanted you to do, I watch you become a phenomenal leader. I watch you go to camp, from doing 25 push-ups to doing 95 push-ups or doing your senior year. So as a parent, you have to, continue to instill how important it is, but it's getting back to let go, let God get out of the lane and let you figure it out, because I had to figure it out. But I think every year I saw your progression, and I had to kind of pull back and let you learn yourself. And you began to get that level of confidence because you knew what to do, but until you experienced what it meant not doing it, okay, how much playing time you got, or how long you stayed in the game, until you experienced that, you say, okay, next year I'm not going to let that happen. Okay, you're going to arrive. And I think as a parent, it's hard. I think initially as a young parent, for me, I was a young parent, letting go and letting you learn yourself is very important for parents to be able to do. And until you're ready, and I watch you grow phenomenally in 4 years as a result of that.
Right. I think that's great advice. And also just to understand that it's not personal when kids don't receive what you're saying. Eventually, 20 shows ago, that just because it doesn't seem like we're not listening, we often are listening. And those type of mentalities and advice come back to you as you are entering college, which we're going to talk more on, and then we move on to the next topic. But when you get to college, you are on your own, but all those lessons instilled from you at a young age often come back to you as you kind of shape who you want to be in those 4 years. You kind of take bits and pieces from what you learn, whether it's your family. And we're going to have a show on this, how to mold your story, how your family, your personal, and your culture have impacted who you are. And these 4 years are so important on how to mold who you are. That's what college is all about. So we're going to dive into the education piece of this, which is so huge because college sports wouldn't be anything without college. So one thing I want to dive into is the importance of forming great study habits. And I think this is something everyone watching needs to instill in people they know who can be affected by this show is some great study habits you need to form, because when you get to college, nobody cares that you're not understanding what's going on, right? You decided to come to this institution. You have decided to take whatever class you're taking. And I remember my freshman year, I took a large amount of classes. It was crazy. Everyone was worried. They were like, what is this? I was going to be a woman study. I'll take everything. It was weird. If I listed the things in front of you, you would laugh because you're like, I didn't even know they could make a class about that. And I took it. 3 kids in the class. I was there. I had an average of maybe 8 kids in each class. But some of the study habits I had to form was not only the power of multitasking in college is very important, because there's a lot of fluff when you get to college classes, right? Now, when you're in a seminar and it's a lecture hall and they're teaching, you need to be taking notes. But when you get to the discussion classes, I think it's very important for young kids who are going to college to understand that these are moments for you to input what you want to say, to get your points up, but also this may be the time where I need to plan out my day, write my notes down. Okay, that way, when you get out of that class, you know what you need to get done. I think finishing things early, starting papers early, studying for exams early is very key. And another thing that I love to touch on is find your place of study. A lot of schools, a lot of places have areas where athletes can go study. We had the K Center, which was athletic center, where you go up there with the tutoring. Our advisors were there. That's a helpful place for you to go study. A lot of people use a library. My teammates use a library a lot. I hated the library. It was too quiet. It was like a social gathering. I was like, this is not the library. It's college. Where it was quiet because I wanted to get my stuff done very quickly so I can go home and go to sleep.
Right.
The key thing is not only to form strong study habits, which means to learn how to multitask. Start things early, don't wait till the last minute, and also find your place of support, your safe space. It should be provided to you as a collegiate athlete. If it's not, find it. I found a small place under an arch. I would study there. I was studying in the lawn. I would find places where you can focus, because who wants to study for 6 hours? Nobody. Some people find that impressive. It's not impressive. It's waste time. Study, get your stuff done. That way you can enjoy your time, because studying for 6 hours, then going to the gym, then going to training table, then going to tutoring, then going to class again. It's hard on your mental health. So, Dad, if you can remember, can you dive us a little bit at how maybe the resources have changed from when you were in college, of course, academics, towards maybe when I experienced what I had told you about in my 4 years?
Yeah. So I'm going to touch on what you just said. I'm kind of just trying to figure out, I think for a parent who has a child get ready to go to high school, go to college, the one thing that a part of the preparation, athletically wise and physically, I was very conscious of that. So I was really in touch with your academics. I was really on top of it, to a point where I had to back off because I thought you had a handle of it. I think for parents, if you're in a high school, I think you were fortunate to be in a high school where you were taught the balance. You came from an environment that you were taught that balance. So when you got to college, I thought you transitioned. I'd be interested to hear from you how you handled the difficult times early on, because it is a lot to navigate. For me, I played 2 sports. I didn't have time to do anything other than either sports or studies. So I know it's different, but the fact that I did put the time in, I did have to go to class, right? I had basketball, I had football. Now, the difference between today is I had 3 months. Once spring football was done, I had all of July, all of August, right, to either work or go to summer school. Today's athletes in college, as you well know, you're done in May, June, you're back working out again. Mm-hmm. So you're formulating those ideas, those work ethics, So for me, there were challenging times. I remember my freshman year, I think I was one of 2 athletes that played both sports, myself and Quentin Buckner. But I remember flunking Indiana State history. And I remember my coach calling me in. Of course, your grandmother had a conversation with me too and said, if you don't get this grade up, you're going to have to stop playing basketball. That was enough of the motivation. But I had to learn what you mentioned early on. I had to figure out how to balance it. The one thing I did, I had to go to class. So freshmen who's going to college, you got to remember, you have to go to class.
Right.
And don't go ahead. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm glad you touched on that because that kind of brings the topic of time management.
Right.
Balancing it all. Let's talk about, you said to go to class. Then you are a 2-sport athlete. You got your sports, right? Then you got to recover because your knees and your legs hurt because you practice for 3 hours a day, right? So let's talk scheduling, understanding that the sport is first. Sport comes number 1. They tell you the academics is first, but at the end of the day, they put your sports first, right?
Right.
You pick your classes off of when practices.
Right.
You may not be able to take a class at 11 o'clock because practice is 11:45 to 2, right? You have to understand that you're given this opportunity to study at the highest level for free because of the sport that you play.
Right.
When you understand that, it's easier for you to kind of embrace the academic side of it. Now, I have had teammates who are engineering majors, which is an extremely hard area of study, right? You're like a genius if you're an engineering major, but also because that demands maybe 10 hours of homework every 2 days, right? So that's a lot to balance, and the ability to if you have time management not only helps you in college, but it helps you when you get out. When you add more things to your life, when you add other people to your circle, when life grows, you get more jobs, you get more responsibility, you have kids. Time management is so important and a great skill that comes with college. But my thing was understanding that the sport is first, understanding that I have to be okay with that. And understand, like, okay, I may not be able to take this class, so I'm gonna have to plan it in the future. Let me figure out when practice is scheduled for the spring semester. Let me figure out when my windows are. That way, I'm not constantly feeling catch up, but more able to kind of stay ahead of it and understanding what's going on. Another thing is not only scheduling with classes and stuff, but also finding time to get your help, which is tutor time.
Right.
It's hard.
Ask about that.
Right. Embrace the opportunity and the resources you have, which is tutors. We had tutors for psychology statistics. I had tutors for science. I had tutors for math. I had tutors for everything because at the end of the day, one, college is really hard. Everyone knows that because it's supposed to be some grand degree that you get because it's 4 years of struggle and pain and tears. But also because these resources are placed in front of you because they want you to do well. No school wants you to drop out. No school wants you to fail because that looks bad on them. Take advantage of the resources in front of you, right? Which is the help, your tutors, and also form a relationship with your advisor. So I said, understand your scheduling, form and use your resources, such as your tutors, your advisors, and schedule time to check in with someone who understands what you're doing, right? And advisors, all athletes and students regular are supposed to understand and know who their advisor is, with someone who knows what classes they're in, has their syllabi, knows when their test is on Friday, what papers due on Monday. They know all of these things. So form great relationships with people. That way, it's not like pulling teeth when you're trying to figure out everything that you have to do. That person can help you. Like, no, don't forget. Friday, you have that test. That's helpful. Now,
can I ask you one thing? How important is it to ask for help? I mean, so when there were so many things going through my mind because my only reference point is when I was in college, we had study hall when we were freshmen. Then once you got over a certain grade point average, you didn't have to go to study hall anymore, right? So your freshman year was the only time you had to go to study hall, and then once you got over 2.6, you didn't have to go to study hall anymore. So how important it is for a player at Duke when they get themselves in trouble, because you got all those eyes watching, so they probably know that you're getting in trouble academically before you know. How important it is, though, to ask for help and to reach out for help. So, did you ever experience that? But
one thing you need to understand is that Duke of 2.6 is failing.
oh,
So if I finished with like a 2.8, 2.9, which was really hard to do. Like, that was the hardest thing I had to do in my life. And people sometimes, like, I could have gone to somewhere else. I'm not talking about other universities, but I'm just going to say that Duke makes it so hard so that these $79,000 these families are paying a year is earned. They make sure of that. I got a D in Spanish class, Spanish. It's a language, it's supposed to be easy. That was the hardest class I had to take in my 4 years. So the amount of effort you need to understand is study hall is your friend. I was in study hall and I don't care. I was in it for 4 years and it had nothing to do with the GPA. It had nothing, you don't get the test out of it. It's more of a test of how responsible are you of your own stuff. Okay. And the more you grow and get older, the more you understand, okay, I gotta get this stuff, this stuff, this stuff. So when they ask you, yo, did you get that paper? Can you send it in to me for revisions? You're like, yeah. I already got it done. Here, send it over email.
Right,
but
right.
Kids, because my advisor was also the football advisor. So we would spend a lot of time with football because women's basketball and football are very aligned. So our schedules are the same, our off days are the same, so our study hall is the same. So she would be like, hey, so-and-so, did you get your paper done? They're like, what paper? And she's like, great, we're going to be here for 4 hours. But she was like, yeah, I sent it over to you already. You the revision's done. See, that is different. And when you act like an adult, you have your stuff, then you get treated like an adult.
Okay.
But you have to understand also the school you go to. If you choose to go to a highly academic school, you need to understand the responsibility that comes with going to a highly academic school. Duke was extremely hard. But it was extremely hard because they made it hard. It didn't have to be that hard. They made it hard because they wanted the name to be as foreseen. You go to an Ivy League, Devin's going to experience this because he's going to go to Yale. Honestly, I think Duke's harder than a lot of Ivy League schools because they are trying to catch up, like that Stanfords, the Dukes, the Vanderbilts that aren't in that wonderful little elitist bubble. They're constantly trying to overcompensate. Now, Yale is going to be more of like a pristine, like he's going to have endless amounts of opportunities with great professors. He's going to have some pretty neat classes. He's going to have what the grand total of everybody gets in his 4 years. But understanding what school you chose and what the levels are, and if that major is good for you and stuff like that, is that going to be hard for my schedule? That is so important at the academic mindset of it. Like we talk time management, we talk finding a great tutor, we talk having an advisor that helps you. But understanding what you're getting into is a major part of making it for 4 years, right? If you go to a school, and I've had teammates come in and maybe Duke isn't at the academic standard that they want to be at. Maybe they just want to play basketball. Maybe they just want to play football. Maybe Duke isn't the place for them, right? Maybe they should go somewhere where academics isn't first, but sports is, right? So it just depends in understanding, humbling yourself on what position you have placed yourself in is very important into your success, but also your own personal growth.
Right. You experienced that with some of your teammates, right? I mean, you were able to watch some of your teammates come there and not it just wasn't the right place for them culturally, right? Two, have you been able to talk to Devin about, because right now, you know, it's both of you and I, we help with your brother, right? Have you had these conversations with him?
I don't need to.
Okay.
And that's a blessing, is because Devin and a lot of kids these days understand if he got into Yale, which he did,
right.
He's fine.
Because he's taking a class right now, right? So
because kids like that understand what it has to do to get stuff done. I was more of one of the kids who was okay with being the average BA, BC, BA, BC area, which is a regular student's average. Devin is AA, 1B, AA, 1B. So it just depends on what your kid is. And I think we all know who people are by the effort they put in and the years they spent in high school. So I think as parents, you guys should know, you know what I'm saying? You guys should know if your kid will be okay or not. And if not, you'll get the phone call. I have seen people become ineligible. I have seen people get kicked out. It's just what it is. I mean, it's really understanding, and I said it earlier, is understanding where you are, and understanding what is required of you in order for you to make it.
Right.
If you don't understand that, you're going to struggle proceeding.
Right.
But
right.
I think one of the last things, and I think this is your favorite topic, and we've only got 11 minutes, but I think this is perfect because you can dive into this one a lot, is sport preparation. How do we handle, number one is playing time. Season comes around, you're no longer getting a lot of minutes, or maybe you're getting a lot of minutes. How do we handle parents? I think handling the pressure from parents, the phone calls, family members, friends from home, means not allowing them to sway your own mindset and your own feelings. And Dad, you know that firsthand, something I didn't do. I just didn't pick up the phone. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I think I didn't pick up the phone because I put myself first. At the end of the day, I was figuring this out on my own, but it's not really like I'm stubborn. I want to do this on my own. It's more of a right now in your own personal space, you got a lot of voices. You got a lot of your own voices, right? You got to figure this out on your own. Maybe someone from the outside is not going to be a positive affirmation for you in this moment. Yeah. And I think it's very important that you put yourself first and maybe don't pick up the phone. Or maybe pick up the phone and say, hey, I don't want to talk anything about sports. I don't want to talk about the game. I don't want to talk about I only play 8 minutes. I don't want to talk about anything. I just want to talk about what's going on at home.
Right.
What's happening over there. Right? And I think you can understand that. Maybe you dive a little bit into that as a parent. I mean, what did you have to learn through that process?
I probably more than anything else, and I'm gonna probably say that you would agree with me. That was probably the area that I grew the most.
Right.
From the time you went to college, the time that you graduated from college. And being a coach, it was something that I preached. It was part of my parent player agreement when I ran my AAU teams, was creating the right culture and having the right, putting the parents in the right place where they did not interfere with a kid's development mentally. And I had to learn how to apply that same philosophy to you. Mm-hmm. Two things were happening. One, I was losing my oldest to college. That was tough. And I think a little bit of my senior year, but sitting back and watching you grow was tough because my hands were not part of it anymore. I had to sit back and learn how to let go and let God and allow you to grow. And in the beginning, you are right. I really struggled with, after a game, Faith, how are you doing? Fine. You okay? Yes. What happened? Nothing. Right?
No, wait. Don't ask at that point, read the room. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And another thing is, don't ask what happened. Nobody wants to.
Right.
But terrible question. Don't ask that, regardless if it has to do with sports, if it has to do with, that's a terrible question. Right. Don't ask what happened unless you're talking about a Disney story.
But that was me your freshman year though. I had to learn. It was you taught me, and you taught me because you set boundaries. You set boundaries. You put yourself first, and at the same time, I'm growing in many areas as a father, as a parent, because simultaneously I have Devin behind you, right? Mm-hmm. So you taught me, and really there was nothing else I could do but learn and be humble and allow you to grow. And I think by your junior year, by your senior year, I would come to the games and they would sit me right behind the bench. And our relationship was so good that if something happened in the game, you just look at me and smile, right? But I learned how to navigate that, but that was because you learned how to put those boundaries up. And as a father, I learned a lot. So I wasn't perfect. But again, I think if and I'm not trying to get you to validate this, but I'm always willing, I'm always humble, and I always want, because it was about you. It was not about me. And So when I learned how to sit back, enjoy the ride, because I remember I didn't have what you had. I didn't have a father or a mom call me up after every practice, asking me what happened, right? I figured it out myself, and I was okay. So that would be the advice I would ask parents, to sit back, and unless they call you up and say, Mom, Dad, I need help. I got some mental stuff going on, you know. In the meantime, just sit there, love them, be there for them, be at their games, hug them unconditionally, and it'll turn out okay.
Right. And I think that helps us move on to the next thing, because when you move away from home, you have to form relationships with those around you, teams, the coaches who have responsibility for you. I think the number one way for you to do this is to form relationships around your circle now that you're building in your new life, is to communicate with people, to be vulnerable with people, to experience, go eat. That's what college is about. It's form these relationships so that when you are having a bad day, you're having a rough time, you're trying to balance all this. This is more of a place for you to output a lot of emotions, or just get your mind off of it. Not calling home is a great skill to have, because it's not growing, you're going to a comfortable place. By pushing yourself to form new relationships, to throw yourself into circles that are different, that'll kind of draw you out of those dark places, is a great place of growth and uncomfortable growth for a lot of kids who are around 18, 19 years old in those first 2 years. I think that's strong, because we talk about how to be strong mentally when you're in college. We talked Mental Health Awareness Month in May, and we had a bunch of shows, and we talked about how to handle and a lot of the mental strains that come with being in college, period, let alone a college athlete. And I think that one of the things, Dad, is sometimes people get homesick. I didn't, but sometimes people get homesick and don't know how to handle it. They're not playing a lot. They're new to everything. The Spanish class is hard because it's stupid. I mean, there's a lot of things to balance when you get to your first year of college, and high school doesn't do a great job of preparing you for the fact that you are isolated and dropped in this new area, and it's like, figure out who you want to be. And I think that a great skill for you to have in those moments when you get homesick and you're trying to figure out how to be a social butterfly, and people going to parties and people are joining new extracurricular groups, and you're sitting there like, well, who do I want to be? Right. Who's Shafer going to be? Who's Devin going to be? I think that it's important that you kind of, and I said this before, meet friends, form allies, create new memories, call home if you need to, but only to express your new memories, the new things you're into, right? So people know, because when you tell people like, hey, Dad, I'm in this new group, next time I call you, you're probably going to be like, hey, how's that new group going, right? It's opening up a new door to your life in these moments of growth. I mean, these just 4 years of figuring out who you are. You're telling a new story of who you want to be. And I think that's very important for when these athletes get to college, their first year. Dive into everything new, right? Not drugs. Dive into sports, dive into classes, dive into book club, dive into who cares, right? Make memories, get in trouble, I don't care, but have fun with this moment that you have, right? I think that's important that you remember that these 4 years are supposed to be the best 4 years of your life.
Yeah.
4 years where you but you grow into who you're supposed to be. I think that we have many parts of your life. I think your life is split up in quarters, right? This is the first quarter of your life. When you get to 25, you move on to the next quarter, right? Until that period, that little umbrella from 18 to 25, you're figuring out who you want to be, what you want to do, where you want to live. Okay, the person you want to be, people come and go, you lose parents, you have parents, right? It's big on molding on who you are and the story you want to be, right? What is going to be the topic and the cover of your book when we get to 25 years old. And I think that by preparing yourself, putting yourself out there, becoming vulnerable, having fun with it is key to how you transition from high school to college with and without sports. And for parents, I think that it's awesome. You guys get to experience and witness and watch these kids kind of go through the same thing that you went through. in this first quarter of your life, and it's inspiring, and it somehow boosts you up, and it's exciting, and it's fun, and it's just a new part of your life too.
Well, listening to what you just said, the last 2 or 3 minutes kind of brings tears to my eyes, because you have evolved to everything that I could ever dream of. And if parents, you just take what you heard today. Faith, you just gave the most wonderful rendition of what it's going to be like, and I had to figure out a way to let you do that. If you have enough faith in God to allow that to happen, okay, the rewards that I'm experiencing right now are what you're going to receive. And I'm just so grateful, and I'm so blessed, and I'm so proud to hear you continue to kind of navigate through life, because I learned from you. The fact that you didn't want to come back home was hard for me, but you were done with living with 2 men.
But no, and I'm glad that today was a good show. I'm just glad that a bunch of people, we see your comments. Thank you again for joining us this Monday morning. We are so thankful for those of you who stopped by to discuss this. It was a fun one. We'll see you on Wednesday to discuss more about sports and pandemic with an awesome guest who has been on our show before, Pepper, who was a former athletic trainer and superstar with the NFL, with the Packers. He'll be back with us on Wednesday to discuss, maybe give us the inside scoop of what's going on with this pandemic and some sports that we hope to see soon. But also, we see your comments. If you want to Suggs Mugs, DM us, message us, email us at faithfamilyfocus14@gmail.com. We're excited. This is limited edition mugs, Suggs Mugs. It's exciting. They're beautiful front, back. But we want to thank everyone, Amazon Fire, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Apple TV, and most importantly on Phoenix, Arizona, E360 TV. Again, this is Faith Family Focus, where we want to use our faith as a vehicle to help heal and sustain others on their path to strengthening the core. So let go, let God, let go, let faith, and let go, let love. Everyone have a wonderful Monday, and touch the life of someone today.